Hello everyone, this is SuperTal3 here. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at Microsoft's Surface event where they released new Surface products for 2019 and gave us a look at their future products that they're going to be releasing in holiday of 2020. They released some refreshments of the Surface laptop lineup, Surface Pro lineup, along with 4 new devices, 2 of which are coming in 2019 and 2 of which will not be here unfortunately until 2020. So go ahead and we'll take a look at the first device, the Surface Laptop 3. If you take a look at this picture, the first thing you might notice is that it looks a little bit different than the previous Surface laptop models. As you can see around the keyboard area and the touchpad area, it doesn't look like fabric, and that's because it's not. It's aluminum. So Microsoft added an aluminum body option in their new Surface laptops, which is, I find, extremely delightful. I'm really excited that they did that because I'm not really a fan of their Alcantara fabric that they had on their laptops. I personally just didn't really like it and prefer aluminum for to rest my wrists on and all that. So we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at first the 13-inch laptop and then the 15-inch, which they newly released. They used to not have a 15-inch model, but now they do. So for those of you who like a bit bigger screens, you have that model as well. So the 13-inch starts off at $999. You can choose between the aluminum body option and the Alcantara fabric option. This processor goes up to the Intel Core i7 1065G7 processor, which is Intel's latest processor, the 10th generation, I believe. And the RAM, you can configure that from either 8 gigabytes all the way up to 16 gigabytes of RAM and up to a 1 terabyte SSD. With the 15-inch model, it starts off at $1,199. The processor, if you choose to go with Intel, goes up to the Intel Core i7 1065G7, the same as the 13-inch model. But with the 15-inch model, you can choose to opt for the AMD Ryzen 7 processor, which is the 3780U. This is a special Ryzen Surface Edition processor that Microsoft worked closely with AMD to create. So it has extra graphics power to power some of the applications that you might be running on your Surface laptop. So anyway, the graphics now qualify as a Vega 11 for the Ryzen 7 and Vega 9 graphics for the Ryzen 5 instead of the Vega 10 and Vega 8 for the Ryzen 7 and 5 respectively. With this laptop, you can also go up to 16 gigabytes of RAM and up to a 512 gigabyte SSD. So while you might sacrifice a little bit of space with this laptop, Microsoft is now making it so that you can take the whole entire keyboard off your laptop and get to the internals, so you could probably upgrade the storage device, as that seems to be the way Microsoft is going with this, trying to make their devices a bit more upgradable than they have been in the past. I would caution you before you try to do that. Microsoft did say they were going to release some special tools that would allow you to do that safely without harming your device. So definitely look into purchasing those if you do decide to try and take a look at your laptop's internals. On to the next device, the Surface Pro 7. Now this is mostly a spec refresh, but we'll go ahead and take a look at the price points and go through the new design features that are in the Surface Pro 7. So it starts out at $749 and goes up to a whopping $2,299 for the fully configured version. We have one USB-C and one USB-A port, so they're dropping that display port and the audio out and opting for USB-C instead. I personally really like this choice. I feel like USB-C is the way to go in the future of output on devices. So yeah, I really like this. Plus, it doesn't have that little plastic piece inside the USB cable that makes it a pain to plug in because you're always plugging it in the wrong way. It's just a one little plug in and you're good. For this, it goes up to the Intel Core i7 1065G7, the same as the Surface laptop, up to 16 gigabytes of RAM and up to a 1 terabyte solid state drive. So this is it goes up to pretty much the same price point as the 13-inch model Surface Laptop 3. But it's in the Surface form factor, so if I'm not mistaken, okay, unfortunately I did not list the top price of the Surface laptop, so I can't compare that here, but I'm sure the Surface Pro 7 probably costs about the same, maybe a little bit more because of the different form factor. But anyway, now we'll go ahead and move on to the new release that Microsoft unveiled that will be produced in 2019 for the holiday of 2019 season, which is the Surface Pro X. This runs on an ARM architecture. It's actually it's about the same size as the Surface Pro 7. I do believe it's a bit bigger, but it is thinner than the Surface Pro 7, so there's that. It does run on ARM architecture, so you're not going to have quite as much speed running x86 applications, in other words Win32 applications, on this device, although it is possible for most applications. Some may need to be recoded or recompiled for ARM architecture to make it a lot more efficient. Anyway, it starts out at $999, which is more than the Surface Pro 7. And at its max configuration, it goes up to $1,799. It uses Microsoft's SQ1 processor, which they worked closely with Qualcomm to develop. It has built-in LTE connectivity, so you don't have to pay extra for that. Just add it to your phone plan and you should be good to go. You have up to 16 gigabytes of RAM in this device and up to a 512 gigabyte solid state drive. Also, with this keyboard, as you notice, there's a little dip in the keyboard that holds the new rechargeable flat Surface Pen, and while the Surface Pen is in there, it will charge up so that it's always ready for you to use, and you can kind of fold the keyboard up like you do with normal Surface models, and the pen is completely hidden, which I find really neat that they did that. I don't know why they didn't do it with the normal Surface Pro, but hey, that's one perk of the Surface Pro X. Moving on, we have the Surface Earbuds. These are Microsoft's direct competitor with Apple's AirPods or Powerbeat Pro, Amazon's Echo earbuds that they just released. So Amazon released the Echo earbuds, Microsoft is releasing the Surface earbuds. They are priced at $249, and the claim is that they will give you 24 hours of battery life with 8 hours of continuous playback on a charge. As far as I know, this hasn't been tested outside of Microsoft internal testing because they were just unveiled, so not a lot of people have had a chance to get a hold of them yet. That round circle part on the side right here, you can see, so you can see that round circle part right there. That is their little touchpad on there, so you can use that for gesture control. It's compatible with Spotify, so with just a few taps you can open up Spotify and start playing your favorite music from your Android phone without having to worry about opening it up on the app and all that kind of stuff on your phone. It's also highly integrated with Office. You can use it with voice control to dictate to Office. You can just tap it to move to the next slide of your PowerPoint presentation. So it's highly compatible with Office, and that's one of the big selling points, I believe, of these earbuds is how compatible they are with Office. And of course, for those people who just love Surface, they're part of the Surface branded lineup. We'll go ahead and move on to Microsoft's new lineup of dual screen devices. This is the first one they unveiled, the Surface Neo. There is a bezel in the middle, so for those of you who were hoping to get a completely full foldable screen, unfortunately that's not an option, but the hinge is a 360-degree hinge, so you can fold it all the way closed and all the way open, and it's pretty much, it looks about the size of your average hardcover or softcover book that you might get at the bookstore, which is pretty neat. It runs a Windows 10 X, a special dual screen version of Windows, so the apps are adapted for dual screen use. When you say open Mail on one screen, then the other screen, if it's not covered up by anything like a keyboard, for example, then the other screen, if you want to open up, say, an attachment in Mail, then it'll open up on the other screen, and it just makes it more efficient, improves your workflow, your flow, as they call it in the presentation. They're real big on that in Microsoft's new presentation. It comes with the magnetic keyboard, which you can kind of snap over the top of one of the screens, and then if there's space below it on the screen, then it has room for a little touchpad that's it's an on-screen touchpad, but still it's a touchpad. And then above that, if there's space above it, say you put it at the very bottom, then that gives you room for like a touch bar, like Apple's touch bar, sort of like with emojis and all that. So all that good stuff. It looks pretty cool actually. I'm really excited for it. Maybe by then my channel will be big enough that Microsoft will send me a prototype, or well, a full release product to review. Anyway, that's going to be released in holiday of 2020. And now we'll go ahead and move on to the last and final device that Microsoft released, which is the Surface Duo. Now, at first glance, you might think, oh, that looks a little bit like Windows, but you'll notice the familiar Google search bar, at least familiar to you Android users. This is, in fact, running Android. It's another dual screen device. It's a lot smaller than the Neo, which had two 9-inch displays. This has two 5.6-inch displays. I don't know much specs about this yet, as these two aren't coming out till 2020, and it'll be a bad idea for Microsoft to give away too much information regarding them just yet. You do have, again, the 360-degree hinge with this. Microsoft is refusing to call this a phone, but to most people, you're pretty much going to say the Surface phone, Microsoft phone, is back, better than ever. I know their previous phones were a flop, and that's probably why they're releasing the Surface Phone Duo, and they're not calling it the phone. They're just saying it's the Surface Duo, it's the Surface product, and that's all they're going to say. But as far as I'm concerned, and a lot of you probably, it's a phone, and it looks really cool. It's not coming out until holiday 2020, unfortunately, but this gives us a glimpse into how it's going to look, and man, it looks really cool. It's super thin too. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to that, and the new integration that Microsoft is integrating even more with Android, to where they're almost being like how Apple is so integrated with iPhone and the Mac series of laptops. They're super integrated with that for Apple. Microsoft is pretty much doing that with Android and Windows. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. The one disappointment I did have about this event is they did not refresh the Surface Book 2, which I was really disappointed. I do hope they do refresh that at some point within the next couple of years, because the hardware is getting outdated, and I really love the Surface Book. I loved how it was kind of a mix between the Surface laptop and the Surface, something that you couldn't really get in anything else. But anyway, that's a subject for another time. Hopefully they release that in a new event. But anyway, so Microsoft, just to recap, Microsoft released the Surface Laptop 3 with 13 and 15-inch form factor, the Surface Pro 7, Surface Pro X, which is the ARM version of the Surface Pro 7, and the Surface Earbuds, which all those four items will be available in 2019. And then we have the Surface Neo and Surface Duo, both dual screen devices. The first runs Windows 10X, the second runs Android, which will be released sometime near holiday of 2020. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please leave a like. If you're not part of the channel, not subscribed to it, please hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell icon so that you're notified every time I release a new video. I hope you enjoyed this video. That's all for now. This is SuperTal3 signing out.